No, it's more like just like because the AIs are getting so advanced. There you go. Bro, do you know planes are like 150 pounds? Tons?
Fuck, how do planes fly?
You don't know how long I've been waiting for you to ask me that question, Rob. Like my entire life's goal, life existence, has been waiting for this one moment. But you're gonna have to wait for the podcast episode for today.
How do planes get off the
We're
ground?
getting
Son?
into planes getting off the ground. Why was that thing in the air?
What
And
thing?
how?
Oh, okay, the airplane. Yeah.
And how did it get up there?
Mm-hmm.
So, firstly, let's start with the big picture, the basics.
Mm-hmm. This big picture.
That's a normal size picture,
Okay.
I feel like.
Yeah.
When you are talking about flight, there's four main factors at play. It's kind of four main forces at play. Two of them are man-made, two of them are natural, but they all work together or against each other. Typically, what is man-made is working against what nature made in order to make it happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever tried throwing a rock into the air. It usually comes down.
I'm really strong. When I throw it,
Infinite.
yeah.
Yeah, so the rock coming down is because of gravity. We've all heard of gravity. It's what keeps the entire universe together, actually. But the thing pushing it upwards, if you're in a plane, is called lift. And that is going to be the force. That's the only reason planes are able to fly, essentially. Along with that, we have thrust, which is generated by the plane. That's the engine that you see. So it's pushing the plane forward. And then counteracting thrust is drag. And drag is what's pulling the plane back while it's trying to move forward. And so a really cool way to imagine this is, let's say you have a kite and you're flying your kite. Imagine the kite is in the air. There's a nice gust of wind coming. That gust of wind is your thrust. And now that thrust hitting that wind, or that gust of wind hitting that kite, is generating lift because of the shape of the kite. So the shape of the kite and the wind itself are trying to make the kite go upwards and away.
Yeah.
But you have a string holding onto that kite. That string is acting as gravity, pulling it down to earth,
Oh, okay.
and drag, pulling it inward so it doesn't fly infinitely off into the earth.
Okay. That's a good example. I see.
It
Now
took
let's
a long time to figure that one out.
yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, so
The airplane.
the most important part of planes, I feel like, is the actual wings of the plane itself. Because without the wings, you wouldn't be able to get this 150-ton monster into the sky. Because unless you're building a rocket,
Yeah.
which is very cost ineffective
Yeah.
to operate, you're not going to be generating enough thrust to lift your entire thing into the air.
Straight up. Just
Straight up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've seen this, but most helicopters can't carry hundreds of human beings, you know? So that's why you need to use aerodynamic principles. And the way planes do that is by using their wings to generate lift. Now, lift is generated because...
You can show us on this example.
Yeah, so lift is generated by a pressure difference between the top of the wing and the bottom of the wing. So when air flows, because there is... Okay, so there's lots of ways to explain this. Most of them are incorrect. I've heard some people say, so what I just said is the essential entire thing, basically.
Yeah.
So lift is generated because there is a pressure difference between the top and the bottom. So the bottom has high pressure air and the top has low pressure air.
Is that when it's moving? Or is that...
So whenever the plane is flying through the air,
Okay.
it's cutting up the air inside of it, or in front of it, right?
Yeah.
That like little cut up kind of splits the air into two columns, basically, the top and the bottom. And the top column, the leading edge, which is the front of the wing, whenever it hits it, it creates that little split. And right above the leading edge, kind of the very top front, is where it has the lowest pressure air.
Interesting.
And so that's where the most lift is generated.
Okay.
And if you look at your airplanes, the plane wings, they start off kind of fat. Well, they start off like a knife edge.
Yeah.
And then they go on to get a little fat, and then they close off at the end like a teardrop.
Okay.
So if you see a teardrop, it's coming down. It's like really thin up top, and then it becomes like a bubble, and then it connects back to itself.
Yeah.
Just turn that sideways. That's an airfoil.
Interesting.
And airfoils are what the cross section of the wing is called. So the pressure difference is what generates our lift. And that pressure difference is so great that it's actually able to pull up, like as I mentioned before, 150 tons for a plane.
Yeah.
You can do that. But that is at a certain speed. So now let's move on to the next one. How do they get off the ground? Oh, yeah, sir, sorry. Let me
Well, I was
do
gonna
that.
say, like, that's what the runways are for, to
Exactly.
gather the speed.
So you need, depending on your plane size, depending on how much thrust you have,
Yeah.
and because our economy is based on efficiency instead of just like, hey, let's put $400 billion into every plane.
It's like fighter jets.
Yeah, exactly. So because we need lots of road, because these are really heavy, your engines need to take you up to a certain speed. So you need enough thrust to get your velocity up to like, let's say like 400 miles per hour, right?
Okay.
It's
On the runway.
it takes a lot. Well, it's probably maybe not 400 on the runway, more like
Yeah.
150, 120. I don't know. So you got to get that speed in order to be able to generate any lift at all. Because if you're standing still, your airfoil is not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
It needs air in order to create that pressure difference. Struggling with the beautiful
We are
microphone.
chilling. You continue. My microphone is A-okay.
Right. So the speed that it's picking up, the more air that it hits it, the higher the higher the pressure difference, the higher the lift you're generating.
Okay.
Because that entire equation is focused on the velocity that you're moving at. And so the higher your velocity,
The higher the lift.
there you go. So while you're on this runway, your engines, your jets, need to get spinning up and push the plane over. Once you hit, let's say your braking point, 150 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
They're going to use their elevators.
Bink, bink. Those?
Elevators, and they're just going to go like boom, creating an even greater pressure difference, and it's going to redirect the air upwards a little bit or downwards a little bit, depending on how you look at it, in order to actually get you off the ground.
Yeah.
And that is how you get off the ground.
It's going to tilt down.
The elevons are going to tilt upwards,
Oh, they're going to tilt upwards.
so it can push the air up, so it can angle the plane to go like this.
Tilt it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's a very hard figure to imagine without actually having a plane in your hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool because the reason it tilts is because the plane is all focused on a single point called the center of gravity, and the center of gravity is determined by. Well, I'm getting way too complicated. I'm sorry.
It is the center of the gravities.
So, funnily enough, there's these two concepts that always get mixed up together: the center of mass and the center of gravity. Center of mass is the center of like the entire weight of the plane. Where's the very center of it? Like
That
where
you
can
can
you
hold
balance
on a
it
point.
off of?
Okay.
Exactly. That's the center of mass. The center of gravity is a specific point that's like mathematically calculated where the center of mass needs to be in order for the plane to have perfect control and to be able to fly.
Yeah.
So your center of mass is
That's something new I learned. Interesting.
yeah, lots of weird different terms.
Yeah.
And if you get these terms mixed up while you're giving like a, let's say a presentation.
I'm going to give one tomorrow. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
To members of academia, they laugh you out of the room. It's really cool. I mean, that's what I did. I don't know.
Sounds like personal experience.
Yeah.
Threw tomatoes at you.
Yeah, it straight up failed me instantly. So yeah, also, there's many different kinds of engines. When we first started with planes, we started with propeller engines, right? Well, they were really wonky, but
Wonky.
we'll get into that on a future episode. Let's keep it simple to the basics this
Bro. I have to remind you of the new podcasting.
time. My bad. That's a good point right there. Now, let's say we're in the sky, right?
We're in the sky right now.
We just used a very special part of our plane that is attached to our wings. That is called our elevators. So the elevators move up and down, and that's how you control. That's how you control the plane's
Tilt.
There's pitch, yaw, and roll. And yeah, let's go with tilt. So
I'm trying to keep it simple.
Yeah. So let's say you are the airplane. You're facing forward. You're tilting your head up. Good shout. And that is using your elevators.
Yeah.
And your elevators are small control surfaces. Well, small relative to the rest of the wing. They're like bigger than a human being.
Yeah, they're massive.
Yeah. So they're small control surfaces which kind of redirect the airflow in order to change the direction the plane is moving in. So to give it some forces from a specific angle. But let's say you're trying to turn left or like trying to go side to side. Then you use your ailerons, which are the stuff on
the tail.
On the tail. There you go. You know, you got your whole body. That's your fuselage. You got your wings. That's your wings.
Thank you.
And then in the back, you got that tail.
Yeah.
And that tail helps you stabilize using that vertical thing, that little segment.
And it goes like pink, pink.
That's your rudder, actually.
Yeah.
To move left and right.
So it's right, it goes right. The plane. Right? If it goes right, then the plane will go right.
You can think of it entirely as if like you're sticking your hand out the car window, right? Let's all imagine this now.
I'm closing my
You're
eyes.
driving, sticking your. Let's say you're the passenger. Don't drive and do this with your eyes closed. You're gonna stick your right hand out, pointing your thumb forward.
I'm holding the painting up with my right hand,
Okay,
but I'll try with my left hand.
Yeah, you're pointing your thumb forward towards the direction of the car is going.
Yes.
You feel the air, right? You have your fingers extended too. That way you are an airfoil. Close your fingers together. Sorry, I'm currently guiding Rob.
You can't not during the podcast.
Now, with your fingers extended and your thumb pointing forward, you're slowly going to tilt your thumb up. So your entire hand is rotating. Now you're going to feel that the air is now pushing your hand upwards and backwards.
Sorry, can I open my eyes?
You can open your eyes. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that is you controlling.
That's what it feels like.
Exactly. It goes upwards and backwards, and depending on the angle of your thumb is how much backwards it goes or how much upwards it goes. Your hand was now an elevon. An airfoil, sorry.
Yeah.
Which is what your wings use. And your elevons, your rudder, and
it's a great example. Because everyone does that outside of a car.
Exactly.
And you understand that. Down, it goes down. Playing around.
So it all depends on the angle that your hand's at.
Yeah.
And just like the plane, it all depends on the angle of the airfoil. And that's what's controlling, essentially, the direction you're going. Also, that's how you control the amount of lift you're generating.
Yeah.
But be careful. If you hit, depending on your airfoil, all of them have a different specific value. But let's say you hit like 18 degrees. Now you have a really nice chance to stall. Which means that instead of the air flowing perfectly over your airfoil and kind of generating lift, close. What happens is that it starts to delaminate, like detach from the airfoil itself.
Yeah.
Because when you're flying, the air likes to stick to the airfoil because of the Quanda effect. And the Quanda effect just means like the air will flow with the airfoil and go.
Yeah.
Once you start getting to a certain like tilt,
yeah,
it has a chance to kind of detach from it and start creating vortices, which is kind of like messed up air.
Yeah.
So instead of generating lift, now you generate nothing, because instead of touching your airfoil, now it's just some random air that's
like
that
dirty air
exist.
in F1 racing.
Sure, but dirty air can be redirected. This air is now just in a big like. Picture the air in the sky as straight lines.
Is that like vortices? It just becomes...
Yeah, the behind of you, instead of being a straight line that follows the line, it's now going to be...
Perfect, yeah.
So like scribbles on like a piece of paper. And so that's how you, you lose control of your plane and then you're going to crash and die. Congratulations, you don't know how to fly a plane. Because you didn't do your research.
Listen up, guys. All the pilots of commercial airplanes.
Every single... Do you think they even learn about this stuff?
They don't.
I think they're actually going to
just play GTA. They just play GTA 5 for a certain amount of hours and they're like, here's your license.
There you go. Did they have to use like a steering wheel? How do they...
It has to be first person. A steering wheel. Yeah, they have to use this Logitech steering wheel set up to fly the planes.
Yeah. Back to our rudder. So your rudder is the thing that you see on the vertical part of your airplane.
Yeah.
That controls your left, right, basically. And then you have your ailerons, which are for tilting side to side. So you know the.
Oh,
Like
which part is that?
That is also on the wings. You can actually use your.
Does that like if they both point in opposite directions? That's how.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I think I misspoke. The elevon is the elevator. Sorry. Ignore elevon forever.
I'm never gonna fly a plane.
Elevon is for flying wings, and that's the main thing I knew about. Completely out of the picture now.
Okay.
The elevator is the stuff you see on the tail. That's the horizontal one that tilts up and down, and that tilts you.
Yeah.
As you would expect. The ailerons.
Why would
on the
it be
wing,
so similar names?
Because, dude, engineers.
Just gotta complicate everything instead of keeping it simple, bro.
Bro. All these
ailerons
control surfaces have their own name, their own purpose. But there's also additional surfaces that are on commercial planes, like they have like little flaps to help them slow down. They have air brakes, lots of cool stuff. I've seen
that in person.
Yeah, and
air brakes.
If you look at your newer airplanes, they actually have ailerons on the front. I don't think they're called ailerons, but they have the same exact thing on the front, so they can control the entire shape of the airfoil while they're flying. It's pretty insane. And I also love sitting on the window seat so I could stare at the airplane wings.
Yeah.
It's literally my favorite part.
Rejecting the 5-year-old that asks, "Can I sit at the window?"
I hate when kids ask,
"Are you an aerospace engineer?" No.
"Do you take the class?"
Yeah.
Didn't think so.
Did you watch our podcast?
But yeah, let's get to the last step of how convenient.
That's what happens.
Let's get to the last step of the plane.
Crashing?
Landing. See, that's why we're on this topic.
Yeah.
So, in order to land, your plane has these really cool things called pilots that are supposed to be able to control and set you up for a gentle landing.
I like the supposed to.
Supposed to.
Because it doesn't always.
It does not always.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get into your flight for Delta that's supposed to be like one of the best airlines. Should have flown private, I guess.
Yeah, private jet, not first class.
So the way most planes land is that they come in at a little bit of an angle with the nose up a tiny bit, depending on how their landing gear is situated, and they kind of glide in. Usually with their, it's hard to say depending on what plane, but they have their engines on very low, just like keeping the minimum speed they need in order to stay afloat, basically.
Coasting, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And once they landing, you have your landing gear, the little wheels.
Yeah.
Massive wheels, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, so you have your wheels out, you come in, they go in at a slight angle, so the nose is slightly higher. The rear landing gear touches down, and then that actually stays on the ground for a little bit, like for maybe like a second or two before the front one touches down.
Okay.
And in that moment, they are fully braking, like using your air brakes. There are some newer planes which have some crazy motors that actually spin backwards. I don't know how that's supposed to work.
Reverse thrust.
It's not how turbines were supposed to work, but I guess that's how they figured that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you come into your complete stop and slowly glide. And there's also brakes on the wheels themselves.
Car's brakes. Yeah.
Something like a car's brakes.
And then it parks and you lose your luggage.
Yeah, there you go. Depending on who you flew with, what day of the year it was, you're probably screwed. But yeah, that's the simplest way of describing how planes fly. And you might be like, Sock, what is the point of telling me all this? Why would I care about the simple beginnings of how planes fly?
Yeah, why would I care, Sock?
Well, because next time you go on a plane and you know that there's like someone scared next to you, they're like, oh my God, I'm horrified of flying. Oi.
And then you could be like, hey, you should be.
Hey, I know.
I watched this podcast that said
if they hit a certain angle with the plane, we're all dead.
Yeah, GG.
Yeah.
Oh, you see those vortices outside the window? You see those vortices?
Yeah.
We're gone.
Hey, you see that white stream?
Yeah.
That's vortices. We're gonna die.
Yeah.
We haven't even taken off yet.
We're crashing already.
Congratulations. Now, Ralph,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I'm giving you.
We're going to give you an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
What is the... What, do you have any questions about planes?
No, I believe I know everything.
I'd agree. You've had lots of experience with this field, and I feel like
Yeah.
you're the man I should be going to.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What is those weird things at the tip of the wing? You know those winglets? Have you ever seen those?
Tip of the wings?
Yeah, you know on your airplane wings that they have like a little wall at the end?
Yeah.
What are those for?
Do all airplanes have that?
All of them have that now, yeah.
Wait, is this a quiz or you're asking me actually? You didn't explain this, did you?
I did not.
Okay. I was I not listening next to you?
No, I skipped a lot of parts of this episode.
Oh, okay. At the end when they're flat, honestly? You mean when they curve up like this?
Yeah, they also curve up sometimes.
So are you talking about, or just like...
Both of those are the same exact purpose.
Honestly, I don't know if I've seen one. If I understand what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. So, as I mentioned before on the wing, right? The
Yeah.
top is high pressure, the bottom is low pressure. Just like whenever you have like different waters, you know how the low pressure, the reason you're getting lifted is because air wants to take that space?
Yeah?
Well, the bottom air wants to take that same space too. And whenever you get to the edge of the wing, that air, like the area that's separating the top and the bottom gets smaller and smaller and eventually cuts off. In that segment, they can create a little, they can mix together, and that also creates drag because it's creating more vortices. It's not vortices, it's a different thing. It's a different term for it.
Air resistance.
Not the same word.
It's a
But
drag. I feel like it's like pulling their plane back.
kind of. So it's making a dirty mixture here, which is creating, like if you want it as smooth as possible so you can get exactly what you're looking for. And that little wall creates like a little bucket for the low pressure air to stay inside of so they don't mix together.
Interesting. I thought you were talking about the thing where the streaks that there are at the tip of the wings. That's what you're talking about. You know,
The white lines, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is.
Okay.
So that
newer planes have that.
Huh?
Newer planes have that bucket.
So yeah, the winglets or the wing tips, depending on what you want to call them, that is something that was introduced a while ago, like 40 years ago or something. And that is maybe not even 40 years, if I'm being honest. I don't know how recently people have been getting good at building planes. So that was introduced, and it drastically increases the efficiency because it gets rid of that entire drag thing, and it's such a small add-on that like it doesn't make sense not to do it. It made a huge difference. It also gives you a little bit of vertical stabilization. I don't think any massive plane is going to be using that tiny winglet for stabilization. Vertical stabilization is your stability, like how well you're able to control your vertical movement.
Interesting.
If you don't have stabilization, you like twist midair, and then congratulations.
That doesn't sound fun.
It's not that fun. From what I've heard, I don't know. That video didn't
I've never experienced it myself.
But yeah, those things at the edge cancel it so it doesn't mix together. And there's lots of different tiny things going on in the planes that we will get into in future episodes. But thank you for watching today's episode.
Yeah.
And leave your comments down below. Leave your likes in this video. Hit us up on Instagram, social media, Twitter. TikTok is a really good one. I don't know why TikTok's doing so much better than Instagram. You guys gotta step it up. But yeah, thank you.
More
again
people on
for
TikTok.
watching. Apparently, right?
Yeah.
The numbers are crazy there.
If you have any questions about airplanes, anything at all, mysteries that have not been solved, leave in the comments and Saka will respond and I will massage his back. Well, yeah.
We guarantee it. Even if it's unsolved mysteries,
Yeah.
give me 12 minutes. I'll figure something out. Maybe like 24 hours. We'll figure something out for you.
I surely learned something new, and I hope you did too.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. I kept it simple.
You did. Yeah, please check out this video if you're interested. And if you're watching this really late into the future, you could follow the entire series by clicking this episode.
It's moving as... That's not how it works, but... Yeah.